You might have heard about Chromecast. You might have heard that Roku's the #1 streaming box. We've got all three with the Apple TV. Which one should you get? We're going to do that next. Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers here, and welcome to another special media feed where we take a look at products and different things. We review stuff and we tell you what's going on, what's happening. What about the animals? You know, what would they be made out of, and all that other good stuff. Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine. Think magazine, put in a geek. You've got Geekazine, where we geek out every single week with our different shows. The Day in Tech History, Geek Smack, iPad 365. And This Week in Google Glass. You know, hey, we're going to take a small little step back, although we're a step forward here. About a few weeks ago, Google came out and they showed off their Nexus 7, which was great. But they also showed off this little puppy right here. It's called the Chromecast. It's a little dongle that you plug into your TV, and then all of a sudden you can get internet through this little dongle. Pretty cool stuff. But you know, it's not new. It's actually Google's second attempt at doing what's called over-the-top television. And of course, we have other devices out there that do the same thing. Apple TV, Roku. Then you have Boxy, set-top boxes from Western Digital. Sony has something out. And then, of course, if you've gotten a Blu-ray player, you might have apps inside the Blu-ray player. If you have a smart TV, you'll have apps inside that smart TV. So there's many different ways to do what's called streaming media over the TV or over-the-top television, however you want to call it. Today, we've got the top 3 contenders of the over-the-top set-top boxes. I got them on this nice sheet of paper so you can actually see them on the desktop because they kind of blended in with the desktop here. But basically, we have the Chromecast, we have the Apple TV, and of course, the Roku. The Roku 2 XS. Of course, the Roku 3 is out there as well. It's got a couple extra features, but for me, the Roku 2 XS is more than enough for now, and I'll probably get the next model that comes out from Roku. Now, a new report from the Parks Associate came out today, and they said that Roku has surpassed sales over Apple TV. They said that 37% of all households with a streaming media device is a Roku, as opposed to 24% to the Apple TV. Now, we don't have numbers yet on the Chromecast because it's brand new. But with its low price, everybody's been trying to get their hands on one, actually more than one, 3 or 4, so they can hook up the TV in their living room, hook up the TV in their bedroom, hook up the TV down in the basement, wherever there's a LCD TV with an HDMI port to it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at all 3 devices. I'm going to tell you which one I enjoy the most. Of course, all of them have great qualities to them, good and bad, and we're going to go through all of them. And we're going to do that now. All right, let's start with the Apple TV here. And as you can see, it's pretty standard, very small. It fits in the palm of your hand. There it is right there. What we have is we have an HDMI port, power, optical audio, which not too many people have optical audio plugs. So, but it does bring out more sound, a stereo 5.1 surround, Ethernet, and then of course a USB port to hook up to. The Apple TV, simply put, the newest version has the A5 single core chip in that generation. It runs Wi-Fi 802.11b or N wireless network, and of course it uses iTunes and the iTunes Store for buying, purchasing movies, renting movies, music, or anything like that. Some of the apps that you can get Hulu, you can get Netflix, you can get MLB, pretty much apps that Apple has sanctioned and said go for it. It's kind of limited if you think about it, as opposed to some of the other contenders here. But this is the Apple TV. It runs about $99, so it's very affordable for over-the-top streaming. Of course, you do need to connect. It also has the ability to cast. So if you've got a Mac, or if you've got an iPhone, you've got an iPad, you can hook up to this. You can actually throw your videos to the Apple TV, whether you've made them on your devices or they're streaming them. It pushes it to the Apple TV so you can watch it on a big screen. All right, let's move on over to the Roku. Now, like I said, this is the Roku 2 XS. The newer model is the Roku 3. You can get it in stores. That's at $100. Now, the cool thing about Roku is they have the different versions of the Roku player. A $50 version, an $80 version, and of course a $100 version, which the Roku 3 is. There is no more XS. It's Roku 3 if you were to buy the $100 version. With the $100 version, you also get games as well as the ability to get to apps like Netflix, like Hulu, and a host of other apps out there. In fact, you can find the Tech Podcast Network, where I do most of my shows on. You can find the Blueberry Network. They just put College Humor Network onto the Roku that you can pull from. Anything from open source stuff all the way to paid content, even games. You want your Angry Birds, you want to play some Galaga, you want to play some Pac-Man, you want to play some slots or cards or anything like that. They've got some very straightforward games that you can play and have a good time just sitting in front of your TV. Now, the $49 version doesn't have the games, doesn't have the special remote, but that doesn't stop it from actually being a great player. It's not 1080p either. It'll actually be 720p, but if your TVs are not 1080p, it doesn't really matter. Now, does it? It does. The XS has more controls than either the Chromecast or the Apple TV. You can go wired, you can go wireless. Also has 802.11 BGNN. You got the power right here. We've got an AV out, so I can actually put in what's called a breakout cable, which you get with the Roku. And I can hook it up to VCR and hook it up to an older TV that doesn't have an HDMI port. And of course, I do have an HDMI port here. Now, with the XS and the Roku 3, it also gives you a USB port, and it also gives you the micro SD card. And I threw an 8 gigabyte card in there so I can store some more information and not have my Roku freeze because it's running out of memory or something like that. Once again, this is the Roku XS model, the Roku 3 models out there. The Roku LT, you got the different versions starting at $49, and they also have the streaming stick. Now, it's called an MHL port, and it's not like the HDMI port. You can't plug it straight in the HDMI. You have to have a TV with that special port to use the streaming stick, but you can use the Roku here. That's standard HDMI. All right, last up is this little bugger right here. It is called the Chromecast. Let's line it up here. That is the Chromecast. The advantage that this has over the Apple TV and the Roku is the fact that it plugs directly into your TV in the back of the TV, so you don't even see the Chromecast. It needs to be powered. That's why it's got a USB plug right there, and that USB plug can be powered into a TV if it has a USB jack. Now, if you've got a TV, you've got to watch and make sure that that's a USB jack that you have back there, not a service USB jack. There's a difference. The regular USB will have the ability to power the Chromecast, but a service jack either might not or might be wired differently and could actually fry your Chromecast. So you don't want to do that. But if you have a USB in back there, you can take the USB cable and plug it straight into the TV. So there's absolutely no cables. It actually would be plugged right in. You would see absolutely nothing but the TV. So if you don't want cords around, this is perfect. The only button on this is right here. It's a reset button. And they say when you pull it out, and I actually did have this problem, when you pull it out and put it in, it didn't power up. I had to actually tap the button a few times to kind of get it unjogged so I can plug it back in and have it work. Now, once you connect it up, you go onto your phone or your laptop, and then you call up the Chromecast website, which downloads an app onto your device, and then that app will then disconnect from your Wi-Fi and connect to a special Wi-Fi that the Chromecast is broadcasting at that time. With that Wi-Fi, it then configures your internet settings to the Chromecast and then gets it onto your network so you can actually send files to the Chromecast. Inside here we have the Marvel Armada 1500 mini CPU, which is pretty cool. It doesn't have an Ethernet jack, but it does use wireless BGN just like the other two. And once again, like I said, it can become very invisible. But if you don't have that USB cable in the back, then you've got a cable running down to your plug, and that makes it visible. The apps on the Chromecast are very limited right now. This is brand new. But the one thing that Chromecast has over Apple TV and the Roku for that matter, even though the Roku does have a software development kit, The Chromecast GDK will be absolutely free. If you want to put an app onto a Roku, you have to pay. I'm not exactly sure all the prices, but I know that there are some prices involved on that. And of course, if you want to be an Apple TV developer, you do have to be in the developer program, which is $100 a year. And I'm not exactly sure what it would take to actually put an app onto the Apple TV because I've never really researched it. So this will be the easiest. You'll be able to throw apps on there. If you're a budding developer, you can create apps and send them out and go from there. Now, this is the one thing about Chromecast that I want you to understand. With Chrome, what happens is you pull out your phone and then you call up the app and you say, I want to call up Netflix. So you put the Netflix app onto your phone. You call up the Netflix app and then you get it all set up. And then what you do is whatever movie or TV show you want to watch, you start it on that device. And then you use the Chromecast player extension to push it off into the Chromecast. So what it then does is it kind of just sends the URL that it has to go to, or the open call through the API if you're a programmer, and then it basically reloads from that point from the internet. So it's not coming from your phone; it's coming straight from the internet. Through Netflix, through YouTube. Now, if I have a video that's on my phone and I'm sending it to the Chromecast, that's a little bit different. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I'm guessing what happens is it sends it off to a place like Picasa, your pictures or your video, and then the Chromecast will then turn around and pull from that location to display. So your phone is not constantly on and losing battery. There's a lot to learn about the Chromecast. We only know limited, and there's very limited apps to it. The GDK is not out, the Google Development Kit, just yet. But there's a lot of expectations within the next year that this will become a really good front runner because it's so simple to use. You don't have a remote. Your remote is actually your smartphone, so you're not digging for remotes out of the couch. You just need your smartphone nearby, and you push it off. And then, of course, as a podcaster, I'm really excited about it because people can send my podcast to the big TV. And when you do that, you can double or triple a show's viewing time because it's not on the device. Because your device, like your phone, is an ADHD device, which means that you might watch it for 3 seconds and then you want to go to the next thing. But if you throw it to the TV, you can let that run and you're still working on your phone. That ADHD device is just going crazy. And that TV is playing a show or an episode like this. So there you go. You have all three of these. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, what's your choice? You live in this set-top, over-the-top television box thing, streaming media. What do you prefer the most? Well, right now, my choice is the Roku XS. It's got the most choices. The Chromecast, when I plugged it into the TV, it looked a little bit darker, and I couldn't change any controls unless I changed the controls on the TV. So I wasn't too happy on that. I'm hoping that they're going to have a settings area that I'll be able to go in and fix things as we go along. But the Roku XS has more functionality. It has more channels. It has the ability to bring in pictures, bring in videos, bring in a lot more. The Apple TV does a great job in bringing pictures and videos in as well, but it doesn't have the apps, and everything has to run through iTunes. The up-and-comer, I say, is Chromecast. Now, the cool thing about Chromecast, it's a small dongle. Like I said, if you've got the USB plug in the back of your TV, you won't see it at all. You don't have to look for a remote. You've got it at your fingertips, and everybody can hook up to that Chromecast through their smartphone and throw things out. So if you're watching a music video and say, "Hey, watch this music video," and you send it off there, and then they're watching it and they go, "Yeah, I remember this music video." They pull up their phone. And then they send it off to the TV, and you set up a queue, and you can go from there. There's a lot of functionality that I like with this. But the cool thing about this is the fact that it's not proprietary, which means that Apple could do the exact same thing, and Roku could do the same thing as well. Talking about Apple, there is a rumor that there's going to be an update to the Apple TV. Some people say it's going to be a better processor. Others are saying that Apple's actually going to put out a TV and forget about the whole HDMI port thing. You just turn on and you go to the special input, and that'll be your Apple TV from there. You'll still be able to probably plug in a Roku and a Chromecast, but it won't have to fight for an HDMI port if you have the actual TV. Right now, if I wanted to use all three of these devices, I have to get an HDMI splitter because I only have two HDMI ports on the back of my TV, and my cable, which is HD, is taking up one of those HDMI ports. That's a downfall right there. So I only have one to choose from for these three devices, so I put in a splitter, and that means another remote, no matter what. All right, so that's it. We've got the Roku, we've got the Apple TV, we've got the Chromecast. What do you prefer? What have you used? Are you going to get yourself a Chromecast? $35 as opposed to starting at $50 to $100. And then, of course, the Apple TV at $100, one model to rule them all, I guess you could say. Which one would you choose? Are you going to choose a Chromecast, or Roku, or Apple TV? You know, things can change in 6 months. Roku could come out with a brand new box that does exactly what the Chromecast does. Chromecast could come out with a newer dongle that could be greater and better than before. Of course, Apple has got their events coming up, so we don't know what's going to happen with those Apple TVs. I know there's a lot of decision here. I'm sticking with Roku for the time being, although I have all three. What are you going to choose? Are you going to go for the Chromecast, the Apple TV, or the Roku? Let me know. You can Twitter me over at Geekazine, think magazine, put in a geek, or you can email me at geekazine@gmail.com. I do have the hotline at 608-205-4378 if you'd like to call and cast your vote that way. Here's the three streaming devices. Like I said, there's a lot of other devices out there, like the Boxy, like the Western Digital. Sony has a couple devices out there. You can get a PS4, you can get an Xbox 360, which can do apps as well. Of course, the Nintendo Wii and the newer game consoles will also be able to do that. So you'll have lots of choices to do streaming media, what's called set-top boxes or over-the-top television for yourself. I hope this helps a little bit. If you have questions, let me know. If you've got a product that you want me to review, if you've got anything that I need to talk about on the special media feed, let me know and contact me through Geekazine or geekazine@gmail.com, and we'll get it going from there. Until next time, my name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. We will see you next time on the Geekazine special media feed.